Welcome to the NBA Coast to Coast podcast brought to you by thelines.com. Coming to you from the West Coast, Josh Lander, joined as always by Nate Weitzer on the East Coast. And we are looking at 4 games here on Thursday night. Not that much to choose from, but we do have a couple game videos for you and our player props. As always, in this video, we're taking a look at the Clips. They are in Golden State, taking on those Dubs. Also have another game in the Eastern Conference up for you guys and those player props, so make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Also want you to head to thelines.com. You can check out all of our great written content up there as the NBA is in full swing up there, and use that odds finder tool that we have for you guys. Make sure you're getting the best odds available to you from all those U.S. sportsbooks, giving you guys bets this season. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into this little 4-game slate and then talk about Dubs and Clips.
Yeah, and there's some big injuries to monitor, which is why we're talking about these 2 games in specific. The first one being Toronto -2 at Washington. And then you got Philly +4 at Dallas. Embiid sat last night, and maybe it's in preparation to play tonight. Maybe he misses another game, so that could certainly affect that. And then the Pacers are -5 at the Spurs, with Halliburton legitimately questionable. Spurs actually won a game for the first time in weeks, but otherwise you'd expect them to lose another one. And then this game, yeah, the Clippers -3.5 at the Warriors. Total is 232, and that is where I look first. Maybe I'm scarred by thinking the Clippers were going to continue their underways after adding Russ Westbrook last Friday, and they had that ridiculous game at Sacramento. And now, yeah, I'm just seeing a faster-paced team that is going to push the pace, and that the Warriors are happy to play at that type of pace at home. I know their last 3 home games have gone under. It was against Portland on a back-to-back with Lillard due for some regression. It was against Houston and Minnesota. Not at all impressed by those offenses. You look back at the previous 4. I mean, they did go under with the Lakers, but Washington, OKC, these games were going way over. And it's just, I still think the Clippers are an extremely efficient offense, even though in this small sample size, the last 2 games with Russ, they've struggled a bit. I mean, 116 offensive rating in general with him, but a 104 pace, and they're scoring 133 a game. That is skewed, yes, by the Sacramento game. They're scoring 112 in the other 2. But in regulation against Denver, we're talking about a 239 total in Denver. I actually have more respect for what Denver can do defensively than the Warriors at home. And I know there's some really notable splits on both sides of the ball for the Warriors, but they also score more at home. They're also, they're far more productive. They're willing to push the pace. Even at a 96 pace, the last time these teams met, we totaled 258. The Clippers, 129 defensive rating. The Warriors, 139. No Andrew Wiggins. That's going to hurt your defense against Kawhi, who is still, scoring at such a ridiculous clip. 132 offensive rating, 33 points per game in 3 with Russ. So it's not like he's necessarily mucking up what Kawhi can do. PG also 27 points per game, shooting 40% from 3. It's a little bit of a growing process for T. Lue and the gang to integrate Westbrook, because he does like to have the ball in his hands and push the pace. But I think they'll continue to figure it out. I'm not really interested in saying they're going to figure it out and get the win here. I think I'd be a little more interested in the Warriors as underdogs at home, but I actually like the over here. And I more than anything, and I know you're gonna disagree with me here, so let's hear the counterpoint.
Yep. Yeah, there's plenty of counterpoints. One, there's 2 quick ones. To just a quick couple corrections to what you were saying. They did go to overtime, the Clippers versus Denver, in that game that reached 258.
That's what I said. It was 239 before overtime.
It was. I was going to mention that as well, but you got to it first. And then the other thing I would mention is in those games you were talking about for the Dubs, where they're just going over, and those games are going in the 250s and 60s. A man named Wardell Stephen Curry was playing in those 2 games, so that helped them a ton. That was when
also
he went
didn't say that the last game was at LAC right before the break. No Steph.
Right. But then before that, Washington and OKC going over. I'm just saying that was Steph as well. I think the thing that I'm talking about here and why I like it is I'm just throwing that Kings game in the trash, just crumpled up and gone. Like, I'm not concerned about it, right? So that fun anomaly that God gave us on a random February day in the NBA, fine. Like, we'll take it, but I'm not going to use it necessarily. I do agree the pace is faster. Look, it's Russ Westbrook is a magnet. He's a stronger gravitational pull than most NBA players. When he comes to your team, you're probably going to resemble his style of play a lot more than before he got there, which is the case of Russ being here. That pace, like I said, throwing away that first game he played against the Kings, just the last two, 102 pace, definitely faster. Seventh most fast break points as opposed to ninth fewest, sixth most points off of turnovers as opposed to seventh fewest. Their opponents are getting points off of their turnovers as well, which is what happens when you have Russ. They get more assists because Russ loves those stats, and they love and they're getting to the free throw line a bit more because Russ loves to just run into people and get that going. The effect on the rest of the team has been that the starting lineup that has been one of the best all season when Kawhi and Paul George are in there is now one of the worst. And I know it's a 2-game sample size, but that's what I'm going on. And we've been saying, why is Russell Westbrook coming to this team since before he got here? We were like, no. And then they did it. And we're all just watching what we predicted happen. All the nerds that we all consider ourselves, whatever. The 5 starters of this team now have the worst on-off court rating of anybody. The bench is back to being way better than the starters. And the bench has been good all season, but when the bench has to be better than the starters, it's because the Clips don't have one of Kawhi or Paul George in. They have them both on the floor right now with Russ, and they can't get better than 100 offensive rating with most of the lineups that they try with him and those two guys. So, in this situation, the reason that I also like under is the Dubs at home. And I believe in what they've been doing and not doing necessarily in their last few games. I haven't liked the offense at all. It's just, Clay, please bail us out. And in the last, or we're playing Houston. That's basically the two options that you have here. Clay, bail us out, or we're playing Houston. Or Dante DiVincenzo as well, trying and help bail us out. But they've been winning on the strength of defense against, I agree, worse offenses. But the fact that they're keeping a game with Portland that low as well is like, come on, man. Like, that team doesn't play D at all, and you're still, you're still giving up everything. Dame's shooting, he regressed, like you said, but like at the end of the day, that this offense for the Clippers is so muddled that I'm not really sure where they're supposed to be. Russ kind of gets in the way, obviously. The defense at home for the Dubs is everything. It's much different than when they're on the road. 109 defensive rating at home versus the 127.7 on the road. This is all over their last 10 games and is pretty consistent for the whole season. They're giving up 53% from the field on the road versus at home, 46%, 44% from deep. They're giving up 29 free throws on the road right now. Like, what? How? Every game on the road, you give up 29 free throws as opposed to 22 at home as well. So, when they're home dogs 4-0 against the spread, winning those games by an average of 10 points, covering the spread by like 13 points. And they're 0-4 to the over, failing to cover that over by 6.5. I just think we need to really focus on what the Dubs do at home and focus on that they don't have Steph to help them get their offense going. And obviously Wiggs helps that as well. So I just don't feel as confident in the ability for them to necessarily get the points up. And I do believe in their defense and the ability to limit LAC tonight.
I think you make a lot of great points, but I just want to get petty and say you are incorrect. Steph did not play against OKC or Washington when the Dubs scored 141 and 135. That was right after he got injured again.
This is what you spent your time doing while I was talking.
They can definitely put up points without Steph Curry. I don't think that that's a huge concern. And they scored 125 on Portland, did they not? The Clippers defense has not been good at all the last couple weeks. It's really just been a case of playing at a slow pace. And now they're both playing at a fast pace, and they're inefficient defensively and efficient offensively. So I think the potential is definitely there for a high-scoring game. I do think you make some good points about how the Dubs have to win. I know you're going to dive into the Jordan Poole under in player props. I think there's a strong correlation there where I think if they go over, it's going to be because Poole has found his rhythm a little bit more because, I can't just depend on Clay to get his own shot. That's not necessarily his game. Look, I'm taking Kawhi in player props. We're going to talk about this game a lot in that one. And so if you don't want to take one side or the other here, the total or the spread, then then we can just look at player props and have fun watching this late one.
Yeah, I mean, neither of us are even trying to pick a winner. I don't feel confident betting on the Dubs, even, just because even the games that they've won against lesser competition than the Clippers, they've really struggled to even do that, regardless of if they're at home or on the road. I know some of those numbers, like their blowout against Portland, but I mean, they were down by like 15 points in double digits in both that game and the Minnesota Timberwolves game. That once again, they needed like a barrage of threes, in the waning minutes of the second half to be able to even pull that game out and cover after a while as well. So I just don't like what I'm seeing from them. But as I consistently say as well, I would not bet on a Westbrook Clippers team right now with your money. So
look, I do feel pretty good about the Raptors right now. I mean, won 5 of 6 since integrating Pirtle, won 3 of 4 since getting OG back, and there's definitely some strong indications that their games are going to continue to go under. 4 straight unders with OG, allowing 104, just scoring 102. And last season, they went under in all 3 with Washington, allowing just 98 points per game. Their offense, not that impressive, with 106 points. Both teams hitting about 10 threes per game at a low clip, pace of just 92. You look at the numbers since Pirtle got integrated here. They're second in second chance points allowed, 8th in paint points allowed, 5th in free throw attempts allowed. So just not giving up anything on the interior. They are still 25th in opponents' three-point shooting. That's for the entire, or in that span, and they have really poor field goal percentage over the entire season. But what they do is they limit the amount of field goals you get. They try to win the possession battle with turnovers, etc. And Washington's just not hitting from deep recently. I mean, they've come out of the break really cold, scoring 103 a game, shooting 33% from deep. Yeah, their 4th fewest free throw attempts. Where they are scoring is in the interior. I mean, 5th highest percentage of points off twos in that span. They just beat Atlanta because they had 71% of their points on 2-point field goals. They had 66 paint points. They only averaged 45 paint points at home this season. And like I just said, Toronto has a rim protector now. They're already pretty good on the perimeter in terms of forcing you into some bad spots, forcing turnovers. Washington, by the way, has a high turnover rate, allowing the 6th most points off turnovers in their last 6. And that's an extremely key stat against the Raptors. They're also 28th in defensive rebounding rate. But both these teams don't get to the line, really, and they limit free throws. Definitely another indication for an under. It seems like Washington needs extra rest to hit overs consistently. Like, they're 12-3 to the over when they get 2 days off. They're 20-11 to the under on the normal 1 day off, or 18-9 when they have equal rest. So, I mean, 222 is a little low for today's NBA, but I think the way the Raptors are playing right now, there's definitely a correlation between them winning and keeping it under. I think I lean slightly more towards just saying Raps to win, because totals are a little volatile right now in this offense NBA. But I think Toronto's really rounding into form and pushing for that playoff spot, and Washington is kind of sliding out.
Yeah, I'm not ready to fade the Wizards entirely only because every time I do, then they win, and every time I think they're going to win, they lose. My 3 least favorite teams to bet on this season are the Raptors, the Wizards, and the Bulls, to be honest with you. The Heat are in there, but sometimes they become a little bit more predictable. With these 2 teams, what I love predicting is an under as well, to be honest. I do feel pretty good about that. I know it's low in today's NBA, as we say, but you look at what these 2 teams are doing as of late. You combine that with what they do when they play each other. You combine that with how good they are at stopping what the other team wants to do specifically, and how limited they both are in what they can do offensively. Their rosters are constructed in such a way that the Raptors really need to rely on scrappiness, fast break points, second chance points, steals, and points off turnovers, and things of that nature, like we talk about, sort of the Memphis Grizzlies of the East, if you will, just without a Ja Morant, and that's really what Washington can also stop. They've been limiting fast break points. Washington Washington's also been, pretty good on defense as of late in the paint, and not that you really need it, limiting all the things that opponents' points off turnovers and second chance points. They're just limiting a lot of the stuff, and same for the Raptors. I mean, they're obviously in terms of opponent second chance points, they didn't used to be as good, and then they got Jakob Poeltl, and now they're a lot better at protecting the rim, at getting closing out the possession and getting the rebound. Incidentally, his rebound numbers have been pretty good. He's had a few weird games where he just doesn't board up, like that last one against the Bulls, but the Raptors still won the rebound margin there in a game that they won because Pirtle's boxing out and allowing other guys like Siakam and Scotty Barnes and company to get rebounds. So I love Pirtle being in there. I obviously sound a little bit salty because he disappointed me in our player props the other night, but he's been huge for them, and I've been happy to talk about him. So the fact that they're now getting rebounds, limiting what the other team does, since they've come back from the break, these two teams are playing at a couple of the slowest paces in the league, 93.5 for Washington, second slowest, and then the Raps at 25th, slowest, however you want to say it, fifth slowest. They're playing at a 96 speed. So, that pace is just really slow for today's NBA. I like that to continue. I know they haven't been playing very much. They've got a back-to-back here and then one more game the rest of the season against each other as well. So 3 remaining, and they haven't played since last January. But in their last 3, the totals have basically gone under 115 every single, or 215 every single time. With a couple really even uglier games, 102-90 the game before that. So I know Kuz actually wasn't in there for a couple of those, and he's been obviously wildly helpful and still keeping it hot in the second half of this season after the break. But I just don't believe in either of these teams' offenses, to be honest, right now. And I think that they both like to just keep it kind of gross and grind it out to a win. So rather, I do think Toronto is the team to bet on the rest of the way. So that seems to be what I'm saying for this game as well, that I would take them. But I don't feel that level of confidence in it enough, as nearly as much as I do to take under 222 tonight.
Yeah, I mean, there is good reason for confidence in the under. I just think that Toronto was missing OG so much during that span where they were kind of inconsistent. It seemed to hurt Siakam's offense as well. He started to get hot right before OG came back. So now with those guys, firing with the extra rest after the break, Fred VanVleet started to play a little bit better too. I think this is a team that really benefits from that little reset, and now they're looking pretty good. I mean, again, for the under though, Washington posts a good offensive rating in the clutch, but they're also the second slowest team in the clutch. So if it does wind up being a close game, you're not getting the free throw line that consistently with either of these teams, not hitting threes, and you're not playing that fast down the stretch. So that does indicate, we're staying below 220, hopefully. But I think I like the Raptors. I'm trying to get ahead of the curve on that.
Yeah, I mean, I'm not going to tell you necessarily not to, because it's not like I believe in the Zards, but just the Raps haven't been beating good teams. They haven't beaten a team with above 500 since like February 2nd. So that's a little bit concerning, obviously, as they have rattled off a bunch of wins, but they're against the Rockets, Spurs, Pistons, Magic, Pellies, Pistons, get smacked by the Cavs by 25 or 30, and then lose, beat the Bulls by 6 in a slobber knocker. So in these gross Eastern Conference middling team games, I do like to go under a bit more as well. So I think that's definitely my favorite bet for tonight. Nate, let's go ahead and jump into our first NBA player prop for tonight, Mr. Kawhi Leonard.
Yeah, I mean, I like over in this Warriors-Clippers game. I at least like Kawhi to do his thing. 24.5 points is his prop, and you're getting terrible odds on it. You could go up to 25.5 and get better. Same thing with the points and rebounds. It's like they're baiting you into everything except the 3-pointers, where you're getting plus 135 for him to hit 3. Intriguing there, but I mean, he's not a high volume 3-point shooter, although he did go 7 for 9 last time against the Warriors, had 33 points in that game. That's at home, and he tends to be better on the road this season. I mean, he's shooting, his incredible 55, like 60, 50, 90 splits that only Kawhi can put up. Most of those are even better on the road. He has topped this scoring prop in 8 of his last 10 road games, the exception being at Phoenix, at Milwaukee, 2 excellent defensive teams. Phoenix when they still have Mikal Bridges, of course. And even with those, he's averaging 28 with a 127 offensive rating, hitting about 2.5 threes at 45%. And he's shooting 62% from 3 in 3 games with Westbrook, averaging 33 a game. still a 132 offensive rating, still one of the most efficient scorers in the game. And it's not like Westbrook is taking away from his opportunities. The usage rate is about the same. And I just think he'll cook tonight with no Andrew Wiggins there to guard him either.
Yeah. I mean, this is where I would lean if I'm taking somebody in this game. I think Kawhi, like you said, has not been nearly as affected by Russ being there nearly as much as maybe Paul George. I mean, Paul George's usage rate is still way up, and I think he's actually getting in with the second unit a little bit more and sort of running that. So it actually does, allow Kawhi to remain with decent numbers when Russ is on the floor. Although I did talk about in that game video how Russ is mucking up that offensive rating of the starting lineup, which scares me. But Kawhi's the guy right now that I think I feel a little bit more comfortable betting on in games as he's continuing to kind of take over the scoring more so than even PG at this point, who's doing a little bit more of the dirty work as well for the Stars. But I'm going to go under in a second bet in this game. Mr. Jordan Poole, you alluded to that I was going to do this in the game video. You can get under 23.5 points. Kind of scary, but minus 103 on Caesars, where you get the best odds there. You could take the PRA, the rebounds and assists added there, under 31.5. Also really good odds, minus 105 on DK. So they are tempting us to take an under because maybe the odds thinks that Jay Poole is going to have a little bit better game than I think. LAC right now, the Clips are killing shooting guards all season long and in the last couple of weeks, especially number 2 in limiting points, number 5 in limiting rebounds, number 6 in limiting threes, all the things obviously that main way Jordan Poole wants to score. And then shooting guards against them since Russ has returned. I mean, do what you will. Weitzer only had 11 points, 4 boards, 3 assists. The more impressive feat was slowing down Ant Edwards on the Timberwolves there to only 18 points, 4 boards and 3 assists. KCP on the Nuggets. I mean, Jamal Murray only had 21 points. I say only because that's under this prop, but he did have 12 assists. And KCP is the shooting guard, and he did get the bulk of the minutes at shooting guard and didn't get close to this prop either. Not quite as comparable, but I also just love that Jordan Poole is much better on the road right now. In his last 10 games, the last 10 of each of these games that he's played, whether on the road, in his last 10, 24 points, 4.5 assists, and 3.5 boards. At home, 7 fewer points at 17 a game, one more assist and the exact same number on the rebounds there. And all those numbers that he's had at home as of late are the same numbers that he's been having against the Clippers as well. 17 a game in his last 4 versus the Clips, and then 4.5 assists as well. I know he had a really good game on the road versus them last time, but once again, that was on the road, and I am pretty focused on his splits where they're way worse at home.
Yeah, I mean, there's a lot of dogged defenders on this Clippers team now. I don't count out Russ in terms of the effort. PG could switch on to Poole, and Terrence Mann if he gets some minutes off the bench. But yeah, it's a question of who is their main priority. Because, yeah, they really got the ball out of Ant's hands early there against Minnesota. Are they going to be doing that with Clay or with Poole? I mean, they have done a good job on Poole, like you mentioned. I think if he goes under this, he might go well under, like even under 20 points, as has been the average. So maybe an alternate line here. And I wish there was a player performance double to take Poole under and Clippers win, because I think he's so essential to what the Warriors have to do to win this game at home. But another guy who's been key to what they're doing is Dante DiVincenzo, who's really spiked in terms of his playing time in the last 3. It might be scary because his game log shows he hasn't gotten this prop at all consistently, but he hasn't been playing 36 minutes consistently either. I'm talking 8.5 rebounds and assists. His scoring is at 12.5 points, and he is averaging 19 in his last 3 here, along with 5 rebounds and 4 assists. As a per 36 guy, we're talking almost 6 rebounds, 4.5 assists. Also, for his career, yeah, he's at 11. He's just kind of that extra hustle guy, the cutter, that make the extra pass, fits in really well with the Warriors' offense because of that. And, in home games where the Warriors are much better on offense, since February 1st, 15 points per game, 3 rebounds, 4 assists. So it is below that average. That's why I'm saying you might shy away from this. But, we too often maybe look, this guy's getting it every single time in his game log, instead of trying to think ahead and say, you know what, DiVincenzo's role is growing. He's played 35.5 minutes and has been a plus 38 in these last 3 home games. So I got to assume Steve Kerr continues to give him a good amount of run here, especially against a Clippers team that plays these small ball lineups, and you need a guy like DiVincenzo out there to play 2 ways.
Yeah, I mean, if you like points, dude, I mean, you might as well take the points for DiVincenzo at 12.5. I think that's, that the numbers basically indicate that 12.5 points is slightly below what you would expect him to get, similar to how maybe you expect him to get a tick more than the rebounds and assists. And if you like points, seems like maybe that's where he can also help out a ton. I would take the points for Dante, to be honest, but you do get the better juice on the rebounds and assists. And if he's going to be a playmaker, though, you're kind of screwing my bet up about Jordan Poole not scoring, because that means he's probably going to score a bit more. So we'll see. Maybe some contrasting thinking is what I'm trying to say here in this game. But I'm going to move the one prop we have. I'll move on to the one prop we have in a different game here. Jakob Poeltl, back to the Poeltl well. He did disappoint last time, although he did cover his points prop at 14 points last time, which was over the 12.5. It's now at 11.5 points for him at minus 106 on Caesars. You can throw the double-double in there. It's also 20.5 points and rebounds if you want to throw that. I obviously have just gotten cold feet since he got 3 boards. It's like it was so traumatizing that Poeltl had 3 boards the other night against the Bulls. But maybe we should believe the Bulls in that they're now the best rebounding team in the league, because they've been that for like a month. So I guess that's part of it. Tonight, it's going to be a situation where he's going to be on the floor. He actually only got 26 minutes against the Bulls the other night, which was a problem. We talked about in the game video. When he gets 30 minutes, he's definitely, he's almost always hitting his props, at least with the Raps so far, who are 5 and 6 with him, by the way. And you can expect the I'm sorry, 5-1. Thank you. 5 of 6 that they've won with him. And then they're playing a team tonight in the Zards, where Gafford has been on the floor starting with Zinger when he's in there, Porzingis. And so you can expect both those guys to be out there consistently, as it's worked pretty well for them, actually. And that means you need your 7-footer out there. Like, you're only 7-footer if you're the Raptors. His last game versus the Zards, he only had 22 minutes in a Spurs tank, 7 boards, 7 points and 5 boards. But the game before that, where he was trying a bit more against Washington, 28 points, 11 boards, and actually 8 assists in more than 41 minutes, which was in Washington as well, where this game is. So probably a good scenario for him, where he seems to like playing here. I like the points at 11.5, just because I think they're way too low. And even if he does get 7 boards, likely that's going to lead to a few putbacks. And just, he's scared. He traumatized me by getting 3 rebounds in a game that he should have had way more. So that's why I'm saying it.
Yeah, I think Josh is just affected by recency bias in that case. Definitely. And I think the rebounds are good here. Isn't it just 8.5 rebounds on its own too? I would buy low on that. I mean, I talked about in the game video, Washington's 28th in defensive rebounding rate over their last 6. They're really poor offensively since the break, and they've really struggled in their last 3 against Toronto last year, scoring just 98 a game. So I think more opportunities for him to board and more playing time, because like you mentioned, they start 3 guys 6'10" and over in the front court. Yeah. So I could see him playing 30 to 37 minutes again here.
Yeah, definitely. Don't fail us now, Poeltl. I believe in you, baby. So that's all the time we have for you guys in this one. Make sure to like and subscribe to that page. Continue to follow along, as we are coming back to you guys to finish the week tomorrow with those player props and game videos. So until we see you next, happy betting.